Alright guys, this is the microZOTL from Linear Tube Amp. This is a headphone amplifier and also I guess sort of a preamp because you've got two inputs and preamp out. The interesting thing about this is it's also a 1 watt speaker amplifier for super high efficiency speakers as well as headphones. So it's pretty cool if you want a kind of a all-in-one desk unit with a couple of sources and you want to listen to headphones and you also wanted it to be switchable so you could set up some like near field speakers on your desk. There's a pretty interesting option, but what's most interesting about it is what's inside. Oh, tubes and no transformer. So this is a transformerless circuit design, and I guess unlike well, I guess there's a number of technical aspects to it which I will not really be able to explain to you. If you're curious, go to lineartubeaudio.com and read their impassioned articles about this patented tube technology, which is, I guess somewhat unusual to have a patented circuit design for tube amplification. But I guess there's kind of it's based on like a carrier wave that then gets stripped out. So it's sort of like radio technology. But anyway, it's a transformerless amp, and it doesn't have a big series of tubes. It only has two input tubes, and the little, I think those are 12 AT7s, and then two output tubes. And it's kind of cool on this lid here. They've got some openings which are not for heat dispersion because this has plenty of venting there in case you want to run taller tubes. I think that's an option you pick. I'm not sure if they all come standard that way. But anyway, nice little unit, kind of small. This one also has the upgraded power supply, which is they call the LPS Plus, and this is the second generation of this product. And this guy's, I think, just got upgraded caps, and you can see the toroidal transformer in there. And anyway, and then you just connect it with a little DC cord, which you can get in different lengths if you want to have that down on the floor on your desk or whatnot. So how's it sound? That's all we really care about at the end of the day. I think it sounds really good. On their site, they sort of promise this idea of the perfect balance between a solid state sound, which they describe as very like articulate and detailed, but maybe a little bit cold, versus the tube sound, which they describe as a little bit warmer and smoother. And I think they have achieved that. I think they've achieved a really nice balance where it's a very black amp. I mean, it's very dark. I mean, it's very, there's no background noise, so none of the sort of, background you're used to with a purely tube amp. So very clean from that standpoint. The sound signature is smooth. It is detailed. The bass is very good and goes very deep. And yeah, just overall, I think it really is a great balance of those two characteristics. I don't necessarily think that's the right way to describe all solid state and all tube amps. I've heard tube amps that are very articulate and, very precise and three-dimensional. And I've heard solid states that are very warm and lush and smooth. So, but as shorthand to basically describe what they're going after, which is the sort of perfect balance of those two characteristics, I think they really do achieve that. It will not be, for me, replacing other things in my system because I have a purely tube-based amp that I think is a better tube amp, and I have a really nice solid-state amp that I think is a little bit more articulate, a little bit more precise than this guy. So since I'm already kind of in a 2-amp world, I'm giving up something from either amp to come to this. But if you wanted a 1-amp world, or you just love that balance, you didn't care so much about pushing the differences of the technology, then this is a really, really sweet piece. And I didn't even get into tube rolling on this thing, so I bet this thing could be even better with the selection of the right tubes. The volume knob is just really lovely, incredibly smooth. You can also option it with a remote control, which is, again, another convenience feature if you're kind of using this as an all-in-one unit. It's obviously single-ended here on the output, no balanced, which is fine. It was powerful enough to drive anything I threw at it, including the DT880 600 ohms, which are kind of like my benchmark of challenging an amp these days. So I think that's about all that needs to be said about this guy. you know, like I said, I think that the tonality of it is smooth, detailed, nice deep bass. You know, there's very little to sort of to sort of criticize it on. You know, when I was coming from moving back and forth between this and my Deckware Taboo, which is my purely tube amp, and now in fairness, I have done a lot of tube rolling on that amp, so it is really dialed in now to what I like. So going back and forth, you lost a little bit of sort of textural detail, I feel like, between the two, and this felt a little flatter, a little more closed in, but it also felt a little smoother. So for like, I guess for more acoustic music, I tended to prefer the Taboo, and for a little bit more modern, impactful music that can feel sort of overly sharp or accelerated, I thought this actually presented it nicer. Anyway, that's this guy. It's pretty cool. It's pretty spendy though. I think with the upgraded power supply, it's almost $1,900, so it definitely has to be looked at against other things in that price range to really judge if the value's there. But anyway, I think it's pretty sweet. Company's based out of DC. I did get in touch with them because this one came missing some screws, and they just dropped some screws in the mail for me. So very responsive and nice, and good at taking care of their customer base, even though I didn't buy it directly from them. The build is really nice. I like this big chunky piece of aluminum at the front, and obviously they're using nice contacts, and you know, their work's right on display, so you can see how their board's laid out, and the bits that are hand done and not machine done seem to be very tidy. So cool piece. They make a lot of other stuff. They make some big power amps and some bigger integrated amps and stuff. So they've got a whole line based on this same circuit design. Anyway, if you found this interesting, if you found anything else on the channel interesting, please do go ahead and subscribe. Give it a like, and you know, let me know if you've listened to this or other things from Linear Tube audio that you thought were interesting. I know they have a electrostat amp, which I'd be very curious to check out as well, but it's very spendy. But anyway, this is Signcraft signing out.